Hi, this is attorney Nicole Christie from the Christie Law Firm, where we work hard to make families stronger. And so today I want to talk to you about weaknesses in the juvenile court case. So we have talked about the juvenile court and what they do, and we've also noted what are the strengths of the DCF case. But today I want to talk to you about weaknesses in a DCF case. And again, the weakness of a case depends on who is presenting the information and who the party is. So for example, for a parent, weaknesses in their case could be they don't have all the information to prove what they have done or what they haven't done on a case. And so that could be considered a weakness. If they have a long history, that could be considered a weakness. A weakness in the DCF case, though, is their inability to prove what they're saying. So for example, if they say that mother's behavior, my curious part for me is whenever they say that a parent, like a mother or father, has a mental health issue that impacts the child, and yet they've provided no information as to how it impacts the child. So that is very, very important. And when you're looking at a case, when it comes to especially the categories of physical neglect, emotional neglect, a lot of that depends on how the child is impacted, whether there is a direct impact. Sometimes it doesn't have to be as direct as physical abuse, for example, leaving a mark on a child. But if there can't be this, I just throw this out there and hopefully it will stick. Hopefully a court will say, well, obviously that must be an issue. No, DCF has to prove how this behavior of the parent has negatively impacted the child. And sometimes they're not able to do that. So for example, a curious area is domestic violence. If the kids have never seen it, they've never been in the house, they're not even aware of it when the DCF worker talks to them, perhaps the violence, it shouldn't be happening, but perhaps the violence happens only when they're outside of the house. Yes, the family needs services, but what is the direct impact on the child if the child is not aware of it, doesn't know it's been going on, and doesn't even display any kind of behavior that would suggest that there's an impact on them? So that is a weakness that can be a weakness in DCF's case, and you want to make sure that your attorney is focusing on that, looking at what did you do that impacted your child in any way, shape, or form, and there has to be some level of proof. Now, there is an area of law called predictive neglect, which means that based on the past history of neglect, the court could look and say, well, you know what, based on what we know now and what we've known in the past, we're going to prevent any future neglect from happening and therefore take action. So that's something to think about. That's something that the courts can rely on, and DCF does oftentimes rely on that. But the way that you can fight that is by showing what is it now that you're doing that is impacting your child negatively. And I do have some other videos about abuse and neglect and the definitions. The average person, you and I, think of the abuse and neglect of a child to be in the category of beating the child, leaving marks or bruises, failing to, give them dinner and feeding them on a regular basis, leaving them home alone or in a locked car in the middle of summer. Yes, those are clear signs of neglect, but then there's this large category of other areas of neglect that DCF relies on. Physical neglect. Perhaps a mother has a mental health issue and isn't ensuring that the child goes to school on time. That could be considered neglect. An individual, again, involved in domestic violence while the kids are in another room, but they're aware of this domestic violence. They never get into the middle of it. But again, they can consider that physical neglect because they're exposed to this family violence. So understand that there are these broad definitions of neglect, but there also can be where DCF has a weakness in their cases because they haven't been able to establish their own definitions of abuse or neglect. So these are areas to look at. These are areas to consider in trying to help your attorney get ready for the case. And so I just encourage you to check out their website around abuse or neglect definitions here in Connecticut for DCF. Read those, become familiar with that so that you know yourself, what is it that I need to do differently? What is it that I can do to defend my case? And what is it that I need to do ultimately to make sure I get my kids home? So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Check out our other videos. We have a lot of information on this channel about DCF, and anything that we can do to try to help you and your family in making it stronger, please don't hesitate to let us know. Take care.